Welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk about some big news that dropped this morning. The White House just confirmed 104% tariffs on China are taking effect at midnight tonight, April 8th, 2025. It's shaking up the stock market already, and I think it's worth breaking down what this means. Let's get started. Here's what's happening. CNBC reported the White House saying these 104% tariffs on some Chinese goods kick in at 12:01 a.m. Eastern, basically midnight tonight Pacific time. This comes after President Trump threatened an extra 50% tariff on China yesterday, on top of the 34% he'd already announced last week and existing 20% duties. China didn't back down from its 34% counter tariffs, so Trump's team followed through. 104% is the total if you add it all up. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was on the briefing podium today saying, "When America is punched, the president punches back harder."
On another matter, the historic Liberation Day announcement last week by President Trump made it very clear that the era of American economic surrender is over. President Trump is no longer going to allow American workers and companies to be ripped off at the hands of foolish trade practices that shipped away millions of high-paying jobs and hollowed out communities across the country. In total, since the Liberation Day announcement, nearly 70 countries have already reached out to the president to begin a negotiation. Countries are falling over themselves to reform their unfair trade practices and free open their markets to our country. Why? Because these countries greatly respect President Trump and the sheer power of the American market. These countries realize they've gotten filthy rich over the past few decades by imposing substantial tariffs on American-made products and ridiculous non-monetary barriers to block out American industry. The president's message has been simple and consistent from the beginning. To countries around the world, bring us your best offers, and he will listen. Deals will only be made if they benefit American workers and address our nation's crippling trade deficits. On the other hand, countries like China, who have chosen to retaliate and try to double down on their mistreatment of American workers, are making a mistake. President Trump has a spine of steel, and he will not break, and America will not break under his leadership.
She confirmed no delays. Trump wants this done now. The BBC's live updates noted China's refusal to meet Trump's deadline to drop their levies, and Reuters says Beijing's calling it a mistake upon a mistake, vowing to fight back. This is escalating fast, and it's not just talk anymore. It's happening in hours. So how's the stock market reacting? It's been a wild day. CNBC said U.S. stocks opened with a rally. Dow futures were up 747 points overnight after last week's carnage, but that flipped quick. By midday, posts on X from traders like Cointelegraph MT and at AC Pandy said the NASDAQ turned red, S&P erased its 4% morning gains, and the Dow was barely hanging on, up maybe 0.7% by 2 p.m. Eastern. Yahoo Finance called it a roller coaster. Markets surged on hopes Trump might negotiate, then tanked when Leavitt doubled down. Why the swing? Tariffs this big hit companies tied to China hard. Think tech, Apple, Nvidia, where manufacturing's heavy there. UBS analysts told CNBC an iPhone could jump from $1,199 to $1,549 if costs get passed on. Retailers like Dollar Tree, with 32% exposure to Chinese goods per UBS, saw shares drop over 10% last week. Today's news isn't helping. The Times of India said global markets rallied earlier. Tokyo up 6%, Paris 2.5%, but US volatility is taking over now. Investors hate this uncertainty, and 104% is a gut punch. Let's zoom out. What's this doing longer term? Last Friday, April 4th, was brutal. S&P down 6%, NASDAQ off 5.8%, Dow shed 2,200 points. That's the worst day since 2020, per NBC News, all tariff-driven. The S&P is already 18% off its February high of 6,144, and today's tariff confirmation keeps the pressure on. Posts on X like @TGravitas list stocks like Apple, Amazon, Tesla, Walmart getting hit, anything with Chinese supply chains. Analysts are worried. JP Morgan's upped recession odds to 60% per Bloomberg, and UBS cut their S&P target to 5,800 from 6,400. The New York Times quoted Moody's saying global trade could take a severe blow. China's $440 billion in U.S. Exports last year doubles in cost overnight. Companies might eat some of that, but prices are going up. Consumers will feel it. Reuters says markets expect 4 Fed rate cuts in 2025 now, up from 2, hoping to offset this. But if China floods other markets with cheap goods or This trade war drags on, growth slows. Stocks don't like that. Here's what I'm keeping an eye on. First, tech and retail, they're most exposed. Apple's got production in India and Vietnam, but China's still huge. CNBC says they're bracing for price hikes or margin cuts. Nvidia's chips lean on Taiwan, which dodged the worst tariff so far, but any ripple hits them too. Second, negotiations. Leavitt said 70 countries reached out to talk, per the BBC. South Korea is already on the phone with Trump, per Yahoo Finance. If deals soften this, markets might bounce. Third, sentiment. Investors are jittery. Reuters noted a fragile recovery today that's fading fast. If tomorrow's open tanks again, we're testing Friday's lows. But if Trump blinks or China does, could be a relief rally. I'm not betting either way yet. So that's where we're at. 104% tariffs on China start tonight, and the stock market's feeling it. Volatility's up, gains are gone, uncertainty's king. It's a big move, and we'll see the fallout tomorrow. If you're tracking this too, hit the like button. Drop your thoughts, what's getting hit hardest, in the comments. I read them all. Subscribe if you're not in yet. Thanks for watching. Let's keep navigating this together.